So here we are, the home stretch of teams in a series that turned into being almost a week long. Let's talk about the final few teams that we have yet to been able to talk about. However, before we get into those teams, there were some signings yesterday on the 16th. Like Jeremy Bracco going to Carolina is interesting. Mangiapane is probably the biggest move for me. $2.425 million for 2 years for this. Like, I know he was played as a fourth liner in terms of ice time. But Jesus, I really like Andrew Mangiapane, and I think that's going to be a steal over the next 2 years for Calgary. Aside from that, like Ozzy Weisblatt signed his ELC, which is great. Quentin Byfield did as well. Then you have some other signings. I mean, the Nolan Patrick signing is interesting, and then we'll get to this one. But the Nolan Patrick signing is interesting. You know, we talked about and rounded things out yesterday talking about Philadelphia. I don't know what to expect from Nolan Patrick now. I'm hoping for the best for him. It's just kind of a shame how his career's gone so far. So we'll see what happens. Promising, though, that Philly signed him, I would say. Talking about the Pittsburgh Penguins, because obviously they've been a very interesting team. You buy out Jack Johnson, very good move. You re-sign Tristan Jarry, very good move. You bring in Mark Jankowski for practically nothing. And I mean, we're already on Calgary. I'm not sure where you are, Mr. Jankowski. There you are. And I mean, yeah, you signed him to what? $700K. I'll take Mark Jankowski as a PK specialist for sure. And he's the type of player, it's just always the way Pittsburgh seems to do things. He's the type of player that's going to excel in Pittsburgh. He really is. I'm pretty jealous of that signing. In a way. Josh Curry, we'll see. Evan Rodriguez, who of course has bounced around a bit, we'll see what he's able to bring. Someone like Frederick Goodrow as well. So no major changes in that way for Pittsburgh, but obviously you moved on from Patrick Hornqvist. You've moved on from Matt Murray. There's been some interesting changes, and now you look at this projected depth chart from Cap Friendly, last modified on Monday. It says Gensel, Crosby, Kapanen. I don't hate that. You know, especially, man, if Jake Gensel's healthy, that's going to help the Penguins so much next year. And Kasperi Kapanen has a lot to prove, but he's a solid player. Zucker, Malk, and Rust, really like that as well. McCann, Jankowski, Rodriguez, okay. I don't know if you want Jankowski to be a third-line center, but we'll see. And then Tanev, Bluger, Ski-Viewer, which I think it's Sevier, actually. Solid. I mean, it's okay. Like, that's a Pittsburgh bottom six, but I really like Jared McCann. I really like Mark Jankowski for the price they're paying him. That's solid enough. The defense is where it gets interesting. Dumoulin and Letang. Again, I've talked about this. I still think, and the numbers still support, that Chris Letang's fantastic. You know, Brian Dumoulin as well with Letang. I like it. Pedersen and Marino. I mean, John Marino. I mean, for as good as Letang was, Marino arguably could have been their best defenseman last year. You know, and it's ridiculous. You get John Marino basically out of nowhere if you're Pittsburgh. And of course he's sick. Like, he was a throwaway thought, of course, for Edmonton. He's such a sick player. Matheson, Ruedel. Yeah, I don't know about that one. Now, Chad Ruedel, if I am not mistaken, and here we'll bring it up here, and again, shout out to Jay Fresh. You guys have been showing tremendous support for him, and I very much appreciate that, because it makes his decision to allow me to show stuff like this much easier for him, I'm sure. But again, like Marcus Pedersen, I like it. You know, for a second pairing, pretty damn good for a second pairing game. Chris Letang's still a monster. Like, if you want an offensive defenseman to lead a power play in this league, you get Chris Letang. It's pretty simple. I mean, even if he, you know, dropped down a little bit from his 18-19 season. The big thing here, I would say, I mean, and again, you look at John Marino. Jesus, what a player. And again, good idea to get rid of Jack Johnson. Chad Ruedel is actually really solid. Now, say what you want about it, like, oh, well, third pairing time, but in terms of, like, a solid defensive defenseman, yeah, Chad Ruedel's pretty damn good. The big question there is Michael Matheson. And there has been a lot of talk as to whether or not they should experiment with playing him as a forward. I don't know if Cap really knows something we don't, that they are going to play him as a defenseman. We'll see. I mean, but you look at Chad Ruedel, certainly more of a defensive defenseman, alongside Mike Matheson. That might just be the pairing that allows Matheson to kind of gallop and do well. Not that you want to shelter someone who's, you know, making that amount of money. But again, the offensive contributions that Matheson brings can make some of those defensive inefficiencies worth it in a way. So all in all for Pittsburgh, and then again, DeSmith called back up. I'm excited to see if he's still NHL quality. Zach Aston Reese might end up being healthy. I don't mind it. I mean, yeah, it's... Are the Penguins stacked? No. Is this a team that's going to make the playoffs? Probably. How deep can they go in the playoffs is the question. And at the very least, I look forward to finding that out. Oh, the San Jose Sharks. Oh, the San Jose Sharks. Yeah. Middleton, Mellock, Latunov, Holbjwax, Suomela, Nason, Kevin Labanc, Matt Nieto, and bringing back Patrick Marleau are the big moves here, right? They are. And in terms of trades, they hadn't really done anything prior to the draft. Aside from the the Devin Dubnyk trade, the Ryan Donato trade, picking up Brandon Davidson. Well, Brandon Davidson was beginning of same day actually. Shit, or not same day. Brandon Davidson was a while ago. My birthday, in fact. Point being for San Jose. I just don't know. I just don't know what the Sharks are right now because last season was abysmal, and at this stage, and I talked about it, in the video I made about the Devin Dubnyk trade. You are now trusting Martin Jones, who's not good, and Devin Dubnyk, who is not good at all anymore. He's just not. It's been brutal. You're trusting that in goal. And, you take a look at someone like Kevin Labanc, right? And it's honestly been disappointing. You look at 17-18 and just that steady decline. It's been disappointing. And they're paying him a decent amount of money. No pun intended, you're banking on Kevin Labanc. And this is another one of those contracts that could blow up in your face. Matt Nieto and Patrick Marleau for league min, that's pretty damn good. Stefan Nason's, Suomela as well. That's decent. But now you look at this projected lineup. Kane, Couture, Labanc. Again, I really like Ryan Donato with Hurdle and Meyer. That's pretty damn good. Marleau, Gregor, Nieto. Okay. Blichfeld, Gambrell, Nason. Okay. Like, for San Jose, it just always seemed to be the thing where it's like, okay, the bottom six. I like Noah Gregor. He's fast, from my understanding. Good speed. We've used him in franchise mode series because that means anything. But, like Gregor, Blichfeld, Gambrell, like, okay, time for you boys to step up. And then defensively, obviously, you're stuck with Vlasic. Carlson, they're saying he's healthy. Simic, Burns. And then here, if this is to be believed, you're trusting two 22-year-olds. And Ferraro played a lot last year, but it's risky. And then again, you have this team in front of these two. I don't know if San Jose is a playoff team next year. Like, I'm sorry. I just don't. I just don't. You lost Joe Thornton, who, yeah, there was a dip this past season. Perhaps isn't surprising, but Joe Thornton is still a very useful player. Evander Kane, he's a special teams god, but, you're overpaying Evander Kane. Dylan Gambrell, I said a couple years ago, I'm like, yeah, no, it's like was a great scorer before signing, his ELC. Like, he's going to be great. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the hell's going to happen for San Jose. And in terms of the moves that they've made, like I said, I see that Kevin Labanc contract is scary. Scary. But like Nieto, Marleau, I like for the price. And it's cool that Patrick Marleau's back, but now Joe Thornton's gone. It's very, very weird. St. Louis Blues. Now, obviously, this is going to be completely one-sided in terms of conversation. Although, I will mention, I'm rooting for John Gillies, fellow Mainer. Kyle Clifford as well, probably decent. Comes down to Torrey Krug and the fact that you've essentially traded Torrey Krug for Alex Pietrangelo. And in terms of any other deals, there's really been nothing. They were very, very quiet around the draft with just two minor deals. So now you look at the Blues, and I guess here we will take a look at St. Louis and Boston to compare what they lost compared to what they've gained. And when it comes down to Alex Pietrangelo, I mean, it's not really surprising that Vegas jumped when they had the chance to. Holy hell, he played a lot of defensemen. Alex Pietrangelo is an elite offensive defenseman. Yeah, it's a lot to give up to be like, oh, well, we're going to potentially rattle our core by getting rid of Nate Schmidt. Like, I like Torrey Krug a lot. But, I mean, Alex Pietrangelo is a better version of Torrey Krug. He is. He's more solid defensively. The shooting consistency, and then again, goals and shooting, two sides of the same coin, but different. The bottom line is, with Pietrangelo, I mean, yeah, he's a better version of Torrey Krug. I didn't want the Bruins to lose Torrey Krug, so I'm not saying like, haha, Blues. Like, no, whatever. And again, people think because of this, I hate the St. Louis Blues. I've said it 1,000 times. 2019, if the Blues beat Tampa, if they beat, well, that's because you hate Tampa. I don't hate Tampa either. If the Blues beat any Eastern Conference team, I'm probably rooting for them. Unless it's somehow a better story. Like, if it was Blues and, well, I mean, even if it was Blues and Leafs. Point being, I don't hate the St. Louis Blues. I still love Torrey Krug. I wish he was a Bruin. And they got him for a pretty damn good contract, too. But you did lose Alex Pietrangelo. Granted, Krug, on the offensive side of things, can do similar things. Now, this depth chart, Sanford, first liner, Zach Sanford. Yeah, I know. I thought of it the same way. Now, fourth line minutes. But look at how good Zach Sanford was in 2019-20. Yeah. I mean, again, just say what you want about the sample size, but it really does indicate, like, well, shit, yeah, sample size be damned. He was really freaking good. With O'Reilly and then Perron there, that'd be a good line. Sonkvist, Shen, Schwartz, Blay, Bozak, Thomas. I mean, I can't complain about any of the forward core. And then again, defensively, Krug, Parayko. God, that's... Scandella, Falk. Again, say what you want about Justin Falk. And then Dunn and Bortuzzo, Bennington, Husso. It's not bad. And then obviously, Tarasenko, Steen, currently injured because Tarasenko's always injured, apparently. It's not bad. It's not bad. And are the Blues going to be right back there contending for a title again? Yeah, I'd say so. I can't really see a world where the Blues aren't contenders despite the Pietrangelo for Krug swap. Speaking of the Tampa Bay Lightning, some interesting moves. I mean, Mitch Stevens, Emil Smith, they bring back Shen and Maroon. No big names, but just kind of solidifying what they have already done. And then when it comes to trading, they really only did things at the draft. So we talk about Tampa, defending champions, same core pretty much still intact. Yeah, they got a strong chance to repeat. That's just a fact. Andre Palat, Point Kucherov. I mean, Jesus, Point Kucherov. Killorn, Cirelli. Stamkos is the big question. Steven Stamkos' health has been a big question for almost a decade now. For as long as he's been in the league. So I'm rooting for the guy. 30 years old, though. A lot of wear and tear. Goodrow, Gord, Coleman. I mean, Jesus, that's a third line. And then Volkov, Paquette, Maroon. I mean, you can't really complain. We'll see what happens with the likes of Tyler Johnson and how that's going to work itself out. But then defensively, Hedman, Coburn. I mean, obviously, Victor Hedman's great. Braden Coburn. Yeah, he's getting up there. He's 35 now. Sergachev, Chernak, McDonough, Shen. McDonough scares me a little bit. It's still Tampa, though. They're still stacked. I expect them to do very well this upcoming season. That's not exactly going out on a limb. There's just not too much to talk about with them aside from, okay, what's going to happen with Tyler Johnson at this stage. And then we get the Toronto. Here comes the, you're the bias. I haven't said anything. How can I be biased yet? I haven't said anything. Give it a chance. So first and foremost, they bring back Jason Spezza. Really good decision. They bring in TJ Brody. Now, here, and we'll take a look at this, right? We'll take a look at this. With Jason Spezza, right? Oh, boy, I just realized, actually, how there we go. There's Jason. Jason Spezza's still really freaking good. And again, say what you want about, the fourth line ice time last year. Jason Spezza's still an incredibly useful player. Then you get to the likes of TJ Brody, who, yeah. It's frustrating as a Bruins fan that the Leafs picked up TJ Brody because that's a really good pickup for them. Then they bring in Wayne Simmons. Talk about injury troubles, be damned. Wayne Simmons, still really good for the Leafs. Boyd's good depth. Bogosian, we'll see what the hell happens. VC, Dell out of nowhere as their third goalie. And now Joe Thornton, who again, we looked at the numbers when we looked at San Jose. It's been a very good offseason for Toronto. A very good offseason. Obviously, to do it, you had to give up Andreas Janssen, but you get Joey Anderson back, who could be useful in the future. A lot of trades at the draft, of course. And again, they've moved on from the likes of Kasperi Kapanen. I can't hate what the Leafs have done. So now you look at this team. Hyman, Matthews, Nylander. VC, Tavares, Marner. If that is what they do, it's still pretty good. Mikheyev, Kerfoot, Simmons. Barabanov, Thornton, Spezza. I mean, that's just wave after wave of what the hell you're going to do. And then defensively, Riley Brody, Muzzin Hall, Dermott if he signs, and Bogosian. I don't hate that either, necessarily. And then Anderson Campbell. Yeah, and of course, Rasmus Sandin might make the team. Travis Boyd might make the team. Who's to say who the hell else? Robertson could end up making the team. There's still a lot that hasn't been determined yet. Of course, Lettinen could be in that top 6. I'd presume, would be in that top 6. Yeah, no, there's a lot of, and I know for Leafs fans, it's like, oh, yeah, be optimistic. There's a lot of reason for Leafs fans to be optimistic. Now, I know, little cap space, got to sign Dermott, got to sign Mikheyev. What the hell is going to happen? Obviously, I don't know. You probably... you probably don't want to say it, but Kerfoot, Nylander, Marner, you'd think somebody could potentially be moved. It's tough to say. As much as I'd love to bring back Mikheyev. I don't think Dermott's the end-all, be-all. I'd be cool with getting rid of Travis Dermott. Travis Dermott's good, actually. Well, I guess for me, it's like, okay, if I was a Leafs fan, would I be good with them getting rid of Travis Dermott? And it's like, on the flip side, it's like, okay, well, if you don't get rid of Travis Dermott, someone like Nylander or Marner goes shoving Travis Dermott out the door and into the taxi cab. So, I don't know. It's been a really good offseason for Leafs fans, though. Obviously, there's still a couple of pieces that have to fall into place, but I like what they're doing right now, for sure. And obviously now, I've talked about a lot of Atlantic Division teams with the Bruins. Granted, there might be some realignment because of COVID. Wear a mask, by the way, and don't drink out of a Stanley Cup in public like the Tampa Bay Lightning did. Shout out to the Lakers for not doing that like every other team would. But, yeah, no, it's frustrating as a Bruins fan because the Lightning still stacked. Toronto getting better. A lot of the competition directly getting better. Montreal getting better. Ottawa's getting better. Buffalo's getting better. It's rough. It's rough. But I can't sit there and just be, well, but the Bruins are still better. The Bruins are better in some ways. They have their positives. But, yeah, no denying other teams are getting better. And then we got to Vancouver, who, excuse me, again, still getting over being sick. I've really only made one major move, and that's bringing in Braden Holtby. And I've talked about this. Like, I get the thought of not wanting to commit to Markstrom for 6 years. I get it. I do. However, while Braden Holtby, in theory, could be nice to just have as a backup until you know for sure if Demko's the guy, I just don't know if Holtby's the guy. I mean, you can see the gradual drop in, goals in the whole shots against expected. You can see, I mean, shit, even the WAR isn't great at this point. You don't really need a genius to be like, hey, this type of graph, that's not a good curve. The quality start number dropping consistently, and it's not as if Washington's gotten worse. So I just don't know. We'll see. And I've talked about this a lot. Braden Holtby, again, if you took every ass that belonged to someone associated with the Boston Bruins and you just made one giant collective ass, there would have been a rubber stamp on it that said property of Braden Holtby from about 2012 to 2017. 5 solid years of just Braden Holtby absolutely owning the Bruins. I certainly know what he's capable of doing when he's on his game. The question is he that guy anymore? I don't know. And again, you look at Markstrom. It's a tough call for Canucks fans. And there's reason to be concerned because, you also lost Tyler Toffoli. You lost Troy Stecher, which is really scary. You do end up getting Nate Schmidt, which I like a lot, and that helps offset the Stecher loss a little bit. But we all kind of know that some of Benning's negotiating tactics haven't really worked out here long term. Top line's still great. Pearson, Horvat, Eriksson. I like Bo Horvat. Roussel, Gaudette, Sutter. Mott, Beagle, Vertanen. I mean, it's one of the things where it's just like, okay, if you don't have Beagle, if you found a way to move Sutter, then clearly you still have someone in the lineup like Toffoli, and that helps a lot. Defensively, Hughes, Schmidt, Edler, Myers, Ben, Olialevi. There's just a lot of question marks. And again, this team's coming off a pretty damn good run in the playoffs. It certainly did better than I think anyone expected them to. But are you better now on paper than you were 2 months ago? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. So it could end up being kind of a frustrating time for Canucks fans because there might be a step backwards or two this upcoming season. I mean, or they make the playoffs, who's to say? But it's not a sky is falling scenario for the Canucks. But there are some concerns. That's all I'm saying. Speaking of concerns, the Vegas Golden Knights re-sign Robin Leonard to a steal of a deal. Re-sign Chandler Stevenson to a really good deal. Bring back Thomas Nosek for a pretty good deal. And then you get Alex Pietrangelo for only 8.8. In terms of trades, you did have to give up Nate Schmidt to do it. You also moved Paul Stastny, which apparently pissed off some members of the core. But all in all, for Vegas now, I mean, Pacioretty, Carlson, Stone, big chef's kiss. Marchessault, Stevenson, Smith, good. Carey, Glass Tuck, good. Waugh, Nosek, Reeves, okay. Then defensively, McNabb, Pietrangelo, Martinez, Theodore, Holden, Whitecloud, pretty damn good. And then Leonard Fleury, because you haven't moved Fleury. So, yeah, no, Vegas, I know the Golden Knights players especially, and the fan base as well, I suppose, rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, especially towards division and conference rivals this postseason. There was the aura of them just being cocky shits, and a lot of people were happy. Cocky, entitled shits might be the right word. And a lot of people were happy to see them get knocked off of their pedestal because Golden Knights. They're still going to be really good, though. I mean, how can you hate re-signing Robin Leonard for $5 million and re-signing Pietrangelo for under $9 million? It's one hell of an offseason. And yes, this deal in later years might be a disaster, but it's not about the later years. It's not. You know, I talked about this a lot as well. Drink every time you hear that. Talked about this a lot. The Bruins in 2013 went for it. And they missed. Thanks, Chicago. And then they missed the playoffs for a few years. Granted, they made it in 2014 and then lost. Let's not talk about that. And then they started missing. And it's because they were dealing with the aftermath of going for it. So make no mistake, unless things go drastically different, you know, Vegas, by the time that contract's up, you're going to start paying for the fact that, yeah, you're going for it. But that's the point. Okay, my team never goes for it, but we never make it to a cup final. Who cares? Or my team makes a cup final, maybe they win, but then we pay a few years after that, hopefully for a short amount of time. It could be a long amount of time because we went for it. Fan base, it's a team. You go for it and you hope for the best and you deal with the consequences. Much like the Pietrangelo contract. So I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. It's been a pretty good offseason for the Golden Knights. Washington. In terms of trades, I mean, minimal. 2 deals at the draft. And in terms of signings up to this point, I mean, Lucas Johansson, Brendan Dillon was brought back. They do bring in Henrik Lundqvist. Justin Schultz for $4 million. And then pretty good contracts, TVR, Schilling, Ledoux, Carr, Gersic. So really it comes down to, was Brendan Dillon a good signing? Yes. He's still a really good defensive defenseman. Was Henrik Lundqvist a good signing? Yes. Justin Schultz. I'm just No. No, thank you. But that does set up Washington like this, at least on paper. Oh, because Kuznetsov, Wilson's still obviously strong. Brought back Stromocci. Good. Hagelin, Eller, maybe Daniel Sprong. Okay. And then Panik, Dowd, Hathaway. Okay. Sure. Defensively, Dillon and Carlson. I mean, Dillon's really good defensively. John Carlson is not really good defensively, but he's one of the best offensive, if not the best offensive defenseman in the league. Sure. Orlov and Schultz. Now, it's a good idea to not have to have Justin Schultz drive your offense. Dmitry Orlov is a very good defenseman. Very good. Like, ideally, I'd say, like, if you can afford to have a player, I mean, great, you're paying him like a first-pairing defenseman in a way, and played him like it too. But if you could have, like, Orlov on your second pairing, like, that's damn good. But you might have to shelter Justin Schultz a little bit. And he's making $4 million. It's scary, is all. It's scary. And then Siegenthaler, Jensen, we'll see. And then obviously goaltending-wise, now it's Samsonov's team, but Henrik Lundqvist is there as a safety net, and he's still a capable safety net. Obviously for the Rangers, we have Shesterkin and we have Georgiev, and something has to give. And then, of course, Michael Kempny, who is out for a long time. So, again, for Washington, are you in good shape? Yes. Pretty much good to go. Could be contenders, certainly a playoff team. You still have to re-sign Siegenthaler. Again, there might be some people who are like, Seattle, though. Yeah, no, you don't do that. Thank God it's not longer than 2 years. You just don't do that, though. There are other people you can leave exposed. You don't have to sign a bad contract for the sake of just being like, well, pick this guy. And it's like, there's no guarantee that they're going to do that. And perhaps the best case, if Washington's like, come on, pick Justin Schultz, they're going to be like, hey, so remember what Vegas did? Yeah, we'll take Justin Schultz, but we want a second rounder. I wouldn't give up Connor McMichael. We want Brett Leeson, Cody Clark. We want Martin Fehervari. I wouldn't do that either, but just saying, banking on a team just being like, well, you have to pick this guy. Yeah, no. If you want them to pick him, though, have fun giving up, assets for them to actually do so. So for Washington, it's been okay. I like Dillon. I like Lundqvist. That Justin Schultz contract would scare the hell out of me. And that brings us to the Winnipeg Jets. Who, right now have to be highlighted by the fact that they reacquired Paul Stastny, who was very good on their team when they picked him up as a deadline option. Dylan DeMello got paid, which, sure. Appleton, Beaulieu, Spiza, for the most part, solidifying the team and what they have already. And if you look at the Jets, no cap space at the moment, and they have to re-sign Jansen Harkins, Roslovic, and Sami Niku, although I believe they're already letting go of Niku. Don't quite know how they're going to pull that off. Getting Stastny was necessary. Brian Little may never play hockey again, so as unfortunate as that is, obviously the whole Laine thing, which hasn't happened yet. So you look at the team, Connor Scheifele Wheeler, great. Laine Stastny Eller should be great. Kopp, Lowry, Roslovic, if he signs, good. And then Perreault, Thompson, Appleton, okay. Morrissey DeMello, pretty good. Forbert, Pionk, okay. Beaulieu, it's looking good. It's looking good. That defense still isn't as solidified as it was. Before you lost Trouba, Bufflin, Myers, although losing Trouba and Tyler Myers, I'm not sure how detrimental that actually was to your team. Again, still a team that, anything short of making the playoffs would be a disappointment. Do they have the ability to go on a run? Maybe not like they did a few seasons ago where it just didn't work out, getting to the conference final. But, all in all, I don't hate what Winnipeg has done so far. This wasn't necessarily the offseason where you expected them to make this gigantic move. Although, I guess you could call Paul Stastny a gigantic move because of how much he's getting paid. So that pretty much does it. We recapped every team. More than open to discussion in the comments because, again, you try to not have every video be ridiculously long. But, certainly some points where I'm going to be like, shit, I should have said that, or I should have further elaborated. Let me know what you think, though, how your favorite team did, and what you might be worried about. I think that's something that we all have in common is we can look at our team and just be like, that's a problem. Hello? That's a problem. Don. Oh, Don. Donald. Donnie. This is scary, Donnie. Donnie, it's scary. Donnie, it's scary. Anyway, I'm out of here. Thank you, guys. I will catch you later. Till then, have a good one. Take it easy. Fucking A, Donnie, do something.